Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Andrew MacKay is here. He's the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchised Auto Dealers Association, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Politicians, they hide behind commercials and social media, trying to act tough. A bunch of keyboard cowboys. They talk tough about immigration, but none of them have locked up or deported a single violent criminal. Not one. I've deported thousands. They closed schools, tied the hands of police, and wrecked our economy. I'm Joe Lombardo. I'm running for governor because we can do better. Nevada deserves better. Let's take our state back.
Joe Lombardo for governor. Jesse Haw, conservative, businessman. Jesse has a plan to take Nevada from one of the worst states for election integrity to one of the best. He'll fight to pass voter ID, so everyone has to show identification to vote. And Jesse will work to make the practice of ballot harvesting a felony again. Join the fight to secure our elections. Elect Republican Jesse Haw, Nevada Secretary of State.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always pleased to welcome back to the program Andrew MacKay. He is the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchised Auto Dealers Association. This crazy year in the automotive business continues. What's the average waiting time if you're looking for a new car from a dealership that isn't sitting currently on the lot?
Boy, that's a really good question. I think the easy answer is undefined. I would challenge your premise in that if there's something that isn't on the lot, well, frankly, we don't have anything on the lot from a new standpoint. We're running right now from an inventory aspect, historically at about 3%, of where we normally are. I would say on average, if you take all the brands, makes, models, you're looking at probably best case scenario 6 to 8 months. If you put an order in on a vehicle, it's we got serious supply chain constraints, and it's not going to get better anytime soon.
And the war in Ukraine is not helping because a lot of that stuff, the harnesses, my understanding is, come from the Ukraine area.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Harnesses, and then everybody knows that they're a major problem with what's happening, and we're talking, across multiple industries, but what's really impacted the auto industry is the microprocessor crunch, because these things are utilized everything to operate your Windows, not just your infotainment systems, really basic rudimentary type things that everybody takes for granted on their car. But in Ukraine, they also, and in Western Russia, is a big source for argon, helium, and neon, which is a huge component of when you make the chips and the wafers. I don't understand the manufacturing technology. So you're running into that constraint. You talk about wiring harnesses. We were discussing it, in fact, a little bit ago. Big car carrier sunk off the Azores, about 45 miles just west of the Azores. It's in 18,000 feet of ocean water now, or I should say at the bottom of 18,000 feet. And on that ship, not only were there 4,000 vehicles, there were a huge amount, and I haven't seen the number of wiring harnesses that were coming to the States to address recall and warranty repairs. And so it just seems like if it's one problem, it's another after another. And you know what? You just shake your head and laugh. That's all you can do.
All right, so coming at this from a bizarre angle, does the pressure to get after inflation actually improve the condition for the market because you won't have so many people chasing such few product?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, there's my premise out the window.
No. I mean, it's a great question. The problem with inflationary pressures right now, particularly on our industry, are really twofold. You've got the actual pricing of the vehicles themselves. Our biggest challenge on getting customers, and this isn't something that is new in the last year. This is something that's been occurring for 5-6 years. As these vehicles become more technologically advanced, safer, cleaner burning, the costs just continue to go up. And getting people into newer, safer cars, that's the challenge, is from a pricing aspect on it. So you have inflation increasing across the board of everything that goes into an automobile. So you're running into pricing constraints. However, there is such a inordinate backlog in demand. At some point, and nobody knows when that's going to happen, we're going to hit a breaking point in our industry where we're going to have so much demand, we just simply aren't going to be able to meet it. Not only from a supply chain standpoint, but if we don't get inflation under control, we're going to simply price people completely out of the market. And I'm not talking about going to buy a vehicle that's used that has 150, 200,000 miles. People just aren't going to be able to afford an automobile.
Well, that brings up an interesting conundrum that could be solved through something that RTCs across the country would love, which is forcing people into public transportation. On its face, it seems to work. You look at any municipality anywhere in the globe where they have major public transportation issues, be it light rail, buses. Ultimately, somebody pays for it. In that instance, sure,
it's taxpayers. I'm not criticizing. Public transportation is vitally needed in this country, frankly. In many places, it's deficient. But as long as you have people that are ultimately commuting from point A to point B, you're never going to have public transportation that's going to be able to completely solve that problem. You need to have individual mobility.
Well, also, I mean, in a city like New York or London, even LA and San Francisco, you have this huge mass of people. And the area is more compact, or LA spread out, but in general, it's more compact. You can move millions of people around on those systems. You can't do that in a Reno or a Las Vegas, where these communities are so far spread out, but not a ton of people. And those people are not necessarily going to be the people who are going to want to ride on public transportation unless you really elevate the ride to where it's, almost luxury, that people feel comfortable. It's kind of funny. I'll just tell you a quick story. We were going up to Tahoe a few years ago, and there was about to be a big snowstorm. And my wife said, we're not going. And I said, well, why don't we take that airport bus and go up there, because they'll chain up, it'll all be safe, it'll be fine. Okay, fine, we'll do it. Man, that was one of the best rides I've ever had to Tahoe in the middle of a storm. We didn't have to do anything. We had Wi-Fi on the bus. It was comfortable. People don't necessarily realize that there are alternatives here.
Oh, there absolutely are. And I'm very familiar with that service in a prior life when I was your friendly neighborhood regulator for the charter limousine industry, charter bus industry. Great service. I sure as heck would rather sit in the back of the bus and drink a beer, watch TV, and not have to white knuckle it on the way up. And more importantly, the people, we're getting off into the weeds, the other idiots on the roads that have no idea what driving in snow is actually like. I think the easy way to summarize this is is this industry, just the transportation industry, and I'm talking about the retail component, who I obviously represent, the franchise new car and heavy duty truck dealers, but the transportation providers themselves, the trucking companies. This is probably one of the fastest evolving industries that's out there.
All right, so what do you see, what do your dealers see, say 10 years down the road? I mean, let's go beyond 5 years, because 5 years is already in the works. But 10 years down the road, what are they envisioning?
Specifically in what respect?
Well, are we going to see even more automation? Is it still going to be mainly a manual industry? I mean, obviously there have been lots of changes, but I just had to change out my computers. They're 5 years old. They're defunct. They're finished. Toss them on the scrap heap. So the car industry is moving way faster than that. I mean, I saw an interview with Mary Barra the other day from GM. They want to convert to electric as soon as possible, and it's within the next few years.
Well, and that is one thing people say it's coming. It is, but that's somewhat incorrect. It is here, and what I'm speaking of is specifically electrification. You look at General Motors. Ultimately, the goal of GM is they want to be completely electrified in 2035. That's the goal. Are they ultimately going to be able to meet that? That's anybody's guess. That is a, if you want to call it a segment of our industry that literally evolves by the day. There's a reason why the institutional automakers, the General Motors, the Volkswagens, the Toyotas, you name it, you're now starting to see their product hit the market in earnest. I mean, this year, of course, we have major supply chain constraints, but Q2, 3, and 4 of this year, we're going to have between 32 and 36 new electric vehicles that are going to be available for the public to purchase. Next year, another 35. I mean, they've got over $500 billion in R&D in this. That's going to be spent in the next 3 years.
All right, so how does that play against a Tesla that has been so established in the marketplace as the electric car leader, but they weren't competing with really the big boys? They may have the cash valuation, but they don't have the factories and the expertise that a GM would have, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I would simply say, and Tesla makes a wonderful product.
Sure.
And to Tesla's credit, they have revolutionized the electric vehicle. I mean, they really have. It really, I think, put the thinking caps on for the engineers at Ford and Chevrolet, you name it. However, these manufacturers, the ones that we represent and move their product for, these people have been building vehicles for 100+ years.
Right.
When these things go to market, and I can tell your viewers, the products that are coming to market are amazing. And they're going to be available at a litany of price points.
Because they have to. Because if you don't have a product that the average person can buy, then it's really hard to do mass market. And that mass market is where the money is, right?
100%. And it gets back to what I alluded to earlier, that the biggest challenge in getting people into newer, cleaner, safer burning cars, I know I keep saying that over and over, but it's important to note, is price. And we can go down the rabbit hole and talk about, as you bake this cake of electrification, and we're literally at the point of the spear on this. The franchise network. We're investing tens of millions of dollars in training and tooling. But as you bake this, you have to have a appropriate product mix. You just can't have one electric vehicle or two. You have to have several, various trim lines. But then you talk about range anxiety, charging infrastructure, both public as well as for single-family homes, multifamily housing, and a big component of getting people into electric vehicles and getting mass adoption of electric vehicles across the country in my opinion, I think the studies demonstrate it, is you need to be able to fuel those cars. You go anywhere in the United States of America, on every street corner, you can spit out the window and hit a gas station.
Right.
And you're going to see that ultimately evolve. And range anxiety, frankly, is something that for the average person, it never even comes into play. Average person drives 25, 30 miles a day.
Right.
Heck, even the lowest range base Nissan Leaf is going to get you 3 or 4 round trips without having to recharge.
Yeah, and you're probably looking at recharging maybe once a week or twice a week at most if you're just doing that local commute. You know, it was interesting. I asked Doug Cannon from NV Energy on the program if NV Energy was going to start taking over, you know, these mini marts and having their own gas stations. He said no, but the reality is that we have to have that kind of system set up across the country. But with the length of time right now that it takes to charge a vehicle, you're going to need a lot more ports to be able to charge all the vehicles that we anticipate are going to be on the road.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned NV Energy, because I was derelict in my duties. They're actually a phenomenal partner on this thing. We have been doing a series of EV workshops with NV Energy. Obviously, they're the utility in the state of Nevada, and frankly, they've been tasked by the legislature to put a ton of money in the ground relative to not only creating grid redundancy from a north, south, east, west standpoint, but also charging infrastructure. And the great thing about NV Energy is this isn't necessarily cheap for the consumers to. Now, granted, our manufacturer partners have incentives for consumers, but NV Energy has a great amount of incentives for not only just your everyday person who goes and buys a car to equip his or her house with a charger, but also for businesses. And I got to tell you, when you look in terms of Nevada, there was a study, it was just shown to me on Friday, in fact, that we did a workshop here in this exact location on Friday morning, that Nevada is one of the most EV-ready states. Actually, they ranked Nevada #1 of any state in the union.
Wow. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. More with Andy MacKay after this timeout.
Liberals Steve Sisolak and Aaron Ford. Socialism out of control. Releasing violent criminals, special interests over our children, and crippling shutdowns on small businesses. It's time for a conservative approach. Republican Tisha Black, a mom who will put our kids first, a self-made businesswoman who will stop government overreach, and Tisha backs the blue. She'll get tough on crime. Tisha Black, the conservative choice for Attorney General.
Liberals and rhinos always attack me because I'm a real conservative. I'm John Lee. As your governor, I'll pass constitutional carry because you have the right to protect your life and loved ones. I'll shut down Planned Parenthood in our state, and I'll never allow Nevada to become a sanctuary state for abortions or illegal immigrants. I'm John Lee, and I promise you this, I'll always lead with conservative values and put Nevada first.
Conservative John Lee for governor.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. One of the things I love about the Carson Valley Inn here in beautiful downtown Minden is CV steak. I have eaten here so many times. Tell folks what they can expect when they come here to eat.
It's a beautiful room, great service. We have certified Angus beef, seafood, lamb, a great range of appetizers, and wonderful desserts. Jean-Michel's done a great job of selecting some beautiful wines for us. The customers love it, and we've got a great selection of cocktails as well. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Andrew MacKay. He's the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchised Auto Dealers Association. You were going through some paperwork there to give me some numbers.
Oh, when we were talking about electrification in Nevada, and the one thing that what we were discussing, Sam, and I love to say this, there's a perception in Nevada, frankly, and it's wrong, that we don't accept alternative powertrain engines. I hear that 95%+ of the vehicles that are sold. Well, when you look at the numbers, and numbers don't lie. Sales are sales, registrations are registrations. I mean, 18.6% of the vehicles in 2021, or excuse me, let me back up, I'm sorry. This is first quarter of 22, were alternative powertrain engines. Hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or electric.
So that's much higher than the national average.
Significantly, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because when you look at states such as Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, that in Nevada has joined the California Emissions Club. We're now one of 19 states. New Mexico just joined it. New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts have been in that for years, but they also put money on the hood when you go to the dealership and buy an electric vehicle. Anywhere between $2,500 and $5,000 in cash, sometimes $7,500.
From the state? From the state.
Nevada does not put that money on the hood. Frankly, we have budget constraints in the state.
Does MV Energy?
No.
But you do get a tax credit of what, around $7,500?
Depending on you do. A federal tax credit, but those are not afforded buyers of Tesla nor General Motors and soon to be Nissan, because when that law was initially passed by Congress, there was a cap on the number of vehicles that would qualify, and once the manufacturer hit that cap, that money goes away for that manufacturer.
Do you think that there's going to be a change of the legislature to be able to put that incentive in? Because obviously they've been very supportive of MV Energy's interlink that they're putting in the eastern part of the state to be able to shunt more power across the state and into rural areas, but also get it into California.
I don't know if the state legislature will, just because of budgetary constraints, and I was somewhat incorrect. MV Energy does actually have incentives for buyers of electric vehicles to offset the cost, but it's limited to, it isn't just available to all buyers. Frankly, it's a means test type deal, and I believe it's $58,000 for household gross income. You have to be below that in order to qualify for a subsidy from MV Energy.
Okay. I will make no jokes about that, and we'll take a break and we'll come right back.
Politicians, they hide behind commercials and social media, trying to act tough. A bunch of keyboard cowboys. They talk tough about immigration, but none of them have locked up or deported a single violent criminal. Not one. I've deported thousands. They closed schools, tied the hands of police, and wrecked our economy. I'm Joe Lombardo. I'm running for governor because we can do better. Nevada deserves better. Let's take our state back.
Joe Lombardo for governor.
Liberals Steve Sisolak and Aaron Ford. Socialism out of control. Releasing violent criminals, special interests over our children, and crippling shutdowns on small businesses. It's time for a conservative approach. Republican Tisha Black. A mom who will put our kids first. A self-made businesswoman who will stop government overreach. And Tisha backs the blue. She'll get tough on crime. Tisha Black, the conservative choice for Attorney General.
Liberals and rhinos always attack me because I'm a real conservative. I'm John Lee. As your governor, I'll pass constitutional carry because you have the right to protect your life and loved ones. I'll shut down Planned Parenthood in our state, and I'll never allow Nevada to become a sanctuary state for abortions or illegal immigrants. I'm John Lee, and I promise you this, I'll always lead with conservative values and put Nevada first.
Conservative John Lee for governor.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, From the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Back with Andy MacKay. He's the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchised Auto Dealers Association. Batteries, the cost of them is so high. Do you see that coming down anytime soon? And what is the expected life of these? Is the average life 8 years, like I'm hearing the warranties last for, but then you're going to end up having to pay $30,000 or $40,000 to replace the battery, or is that just nonsense?
First part, yes, battery costs are coming down. They'll continue to come down because that technology is moving. The short answer is the target is to get 10 years. Obviously, they're warranted to 8. These manufacturers aren't stupid. They know that these things are generally not going to break before. However, it depends on everything: where you live, climate. Are you in a hilly area? Do you tow? That affects battery life. But no, it's an evolving and improving technology, and the prices are just going to continue to drop.
As always, never enough time. Thank you so much for being here.
Sam.
Come back soon.
Be here. Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. You can also check our archive going back to 2005 on our website. Again, NevadaNewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next show.